Hey everybody, welcome back to World History. Today we're doing section 4 of World War II, so go ahead and get your notes out and let's get started. So, really we're going to be talking about just the end part of the war. We'll talk about the legacy of the war next time. So the Nazis are going to be defeated in March of 1945, when the Allies in the east and west met at the Elbe River near Berlin. The Axis armies everywhere are going to surrender. Mussolini will be captured and executed by an Italian mob. And Hitler's going to commit suicide as the Soviet Union advances on Berlin, as he's hiding in the Führerbunker. But yeah, just suffice to say, they're both out of the way. Germany will officially surrender on May 7th, and VE Day will be celebrated on May 8th, 1945. This is Victory in Europe Day. Now, reasons for the Allies' success. Well, first off, Germany's location. They had to fight on several fronts, kind of their downfall in World War I as well. Hitler had complete control but made poor decisions. He also underestimated the Soviet Union, and that really came back to bite him. He also underestimated the enormous productive capacity of the United States. With 2 times more than all of the Axis powers combined, we essentially outfitted the entire Allied army. Oil was also scarce in Germany due to us cutting it off. The Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, was pretty much grounded by D-Day. Now, this is in 1945, so some historical stuff. This is Queen Elizabeth II right here. The Queen that just passed last year at the time of this recording. This was back when she was still a princess. She would not become queen for another 6 or 7 years. Now, things are continuing over in the Pacific. The fighting has not stopped. And we have to talk about the Bataan Death March. Now, until 1942, the Japanese were pretty much completely uninterrupted. There was no pushback whatsoever. They just did whatever. This resulted in the Bataan Death March, a 65-mile forced march of Filipino and U.S. prisoners of war under brutal conditions by the Japanese. Most likely, and more than likely, you were going to die on this walk. This death march was designed to kill you. Now, some other battles that we need to talk about, and this is occurring after Coral Sea and Midway that we've already talked about. We have the Battle of Guadalcanal, aka Operation Watchtower. With our victory, we began utilizing the method of island hopping. This was the idea to recapture some Japanese-held islands with bypassing others. Think of it as like stepping stones or trying to skip a rock across a pond. Our leadership in the Pacific was Douglas MacArthur and Admiral Chester Nimitz. Now, MacArthur is going to be the main guy, leading the movement north towards Japan with the fight to retake the Philippines. Nimitz was in charge of the U.S. Navy and led the blockade to Japan, as well as being one of the masterminds behind our success at Midway. And here's MacArthur, and here is Admiral Nimitz. So, by mid-1945, most of the Japanese Navy and Air Force had been destroyed, but they still had an army of over 2 million. Their pilots began to embrace the kamikaze idea, pilots who would take on suicide missions, and it's clear that Japan would fight to the death instead of surrender. They weren't going to surrender without killing as many people possible. This is true in February and March of 1945 on the island of Iwo Jima. This is technically the first invasion of the Japanese homeland, and to this day still remains the bloodiest battle in U.S. Marine Corps history. The island's only about 5 miles long and had some of Japan's most strategic airfields, making it the prime location to jump off into an invasion of the main islands of Japan. So, let me move the bubble up here. You probably have seen this image before. This is taken by Joe Rosenthal. It's entitled The Flag Raising on Iwo Jima. He would actually win the Pulitzer Prize for this, and this is on top of Mount Suribachi after the month of fighting on Iwo Jima. We also have the Battle of Okinawa from April to July of 1945. This was the largest amphibious landing, and casualties ranged from about 50,000 Allied casualties to over 100,000 Japanese. Now, if you're familiar with the movie Hacksaw Ridge, yes, that does depict the Battle of Okinawa. Not the most historically accurate thing, but there are some elements that were true. But in April of 1945, things are going to get a little worse. President Roosevelt is going to die. And as a result, Harry S. Truman, the vice president from Missouri, is going to take over as our commander-in-chief. So it leads to a specific question. Do we invade Japan or do we use a bomb? I am recording. Hold that thought. I'll be right back.
All right, 5 and 16. I feel like a
Sorry about that. So like I was saying, there was a whole idea of do we invade or do we bomb? The Manhattan Project had been around for a couple years, and it was the code name for the project to build the first atomic bomb. This left Harry Truman with the decision. He consulted with advisors, and predictions of an invasion would estimate over 1 million Allied casualties. So in order to save American lives, he gave Japan one final warning to surrender or face complete destruction and utter devastation. They refused. So they ignored the warning, and on August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb, codenamed Little Boy, will be dropped on the city of Hiroshima. And 2 days later, since they hadn't surrendered yet, we dropped another one entitled The Fat Man on Nagasaki. These are some more. That was another image from Hiroshima. On August 10th, Emperor Hirohito is finally going to intervene, and on the battleship Missouri, the peace treaty will be signed, effectively ending World War II. So that is it for notes for today. I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.